do you know?
Yeah, the history of the Vietnamese American in the U.S. We have 3 generations right now. The first generation was mine, and the second generation started around year 2000, and now we are on the 3rd generation, and we have tried this already with the Vietnamese second generation in LA when we first got together and think this through with the flavor of healing, personal and community healing that is very Los Angeles. The reason I could appreciate it because I was with the peeling the banana of with the Asian American men. It started in LA, so I got to practice with them, thinking about using performing as a healing, as an Asian healing process. So that I appreciated when I came to the first gathering, and then we have the second gathering, and so I realized that I discovered this as a discovery of a grassroots democracy with a flavor of personal and community healing. This is a very Vietnamese American second generation and third generation approach, in which we need very good, in the sense that it is important that we play this out, and all the process that we are dealing right now with Viet Solidarity and Action Network. It has a lot of healing in it, and it has a lot of grassroots democracy in it, where personal information and personal idea and healing is important. And if we don't have that, then we don't have a community, which is not for the community is only exists in the map when it is for itself. If it is not for itself, then it won't be on the map. And for itself, when with democracy, meaning that each member coming to the community with a community healing and personal healing at the same time. So that the first and the second generation is different in that we have the first generation has a lot of war in it, and no healing, because we didn't know how to heal at that time. We thought that we are okay coming out of the war, and we are a hero. We had a lot of hero and valiant soldiers and valiant family coming to this country afresh from the war, and we think we can survive anything. If you are in Vietnam, you survive Vietnam, then you can survive. You think that you can survive anything.
Like COVID-19?
Now with COVID-19 and which we have to tend to our personal healing, and also with Black Lives Matter, which tell us that we have to take care of our community. That's the most important thing for us right now, is to have the community healing within the coronavirus, and we tend to ourselves, and that's what intergeneration discussion start. And I think that the first generation will come around to understand the Visan approach.
So I live in Minnesota, and the full name, it's a Dakota word, Minnesota Makoche, which means the land where the water reflects the clouds.
Yeah.
And I've taken that to mean that for me, given that our bodies are made of, I think, over 70% water, and that clouds oftentimes is a symbol for visioning, for something more hopeful. There's a something that I always contend with around, like what you were talking about, healing. Like, I want my water to reflect the vision of like a vision that's actually going to sustain our lives as human beings on this earth, that will sustain, I think, the lives of all living relations that are on this earth. And there's, in Minnesota, there's also a healer, a Black healer. His name is Resma Menakem. He wrote this beautiful book called My Grandmother's Hands, about healing from white body supremacy, being able to figure out ways to metabolize the intergenerational trauma that exists inside of us. And there's been so much that has happened to Indigenous peoples, to Black people on Turtle Island, and then all the imperialist projects that we were, that our people were involved, or that our people had suffered under. There's a lot of toxic colonial imagination and reverberations inside of our spirits, inside of our beings, kind of dirtying our water. I'd love to know, or I'd love to learn from you, your perspective on the water inside of the Viet body. Clearly, with the necessity for us to heal, is that we can safely assume that there's water in our bodies that needs to be cleaned and metabolized. And you know, as somebody who's seen so much of how our relations have interacted with each other on this earth, what do you believe are things that we have to metabolize, the collective Viet body has to metabolize, in order for us to move forward towards a different world, a different way, one that is going to be more nourishing and regenerative to us?
Yeah. Luckily, we have we have a culture that is grounded on water. If you I just took a look at the CIA measurement of inland water of all countries in the world. Vietnam, a small country, is the fourth longest. But if you divide it by area of Vietnam, then Vietnam become the top. The second is 20 times less than us. The next country is 20 times less than us, with China. And the third was Brazil, and which is 33 times less than Vietnam. So in Vietnam culture, we talk about water all the time. So we say đất and nước. It means the country. It means that the realm where we live. And also, when you remember Ho Xuân Hương, she said something like, she looked at the rainwater on the ground, and she can see the sky in it. So she can see the sky in the pool of water. It was written in 1860. So that our culture is radical in itself. It fits us very well when we come back to community organizing, because the first generation was having 100 years of war, and we forgot about that. But if we look at the culture, it would be natural for the first generation to come with us when we talk about culture. The culture is very radical in a way that we can look at the sky from a pool of water. The Native Americans have a lot in common with the Vietnamese from the origin. If you look at how Hai Bà Trưng started, what she did was to call on the different clan and different village to get together and say, this is a problem for all of us. It's like a COVID kind of thing. It's like
we're all in this together.
in the US for us. And she said, we can get together and form a sort of a confederation like the Native American in the US. And that's how she started. Later on, the Vietnamese used that a lot. Like the best one was in the Tran Dynasty. We call when we fought the Mongolian, we call it Hội nghị Diên Hồng, right? Diên Hồng. You heard a lot about that famous gathering of the elders to beat the Mongolian 3 times by one king who later becomes head of the Trúc Lâm Ren sect in Vietnam, and his sect has a specific teaching. You can enlighten if your village and your country is not enlightened with you. You have to be in a community. You can't be doing it alone. And enlightenment is a community thing. And Thích Nhất Hạnh was really with that sect. He came out with that sect, and he talked about that a lot in his book. And one thing from Vietnamese folk poetry, from ca dao, you call something like chốn dựng chân, đất nước gọi là nhà. When we stop and we stay in when we stop our feet where we stand, the land and the water, we call it home. So for the Vietnamese, we call it home where we rest our feet, we call it home. And when we see the land and the water, then we call it home. So that when we started Visan and solidarity, it's almost like if we look at that like a confederation. It has 2 aspects of the confederation. Within our community, we call together with different generations to get together and to use the Vietnamese tradition and culture as a way to get together to deal with the real problem that hit the community, so that the community and us will become enlightened at the same time. And so supporting Black Lives Matter is another larger confederation. We deal with people of color so that we can defend ourselves against the system that is not for people of color. So that I think that we may be within our community, we may be different in opinion, but that different opinion because of a different generation, different experience. We have to be patient and try to convince each other that what is best for the community is to help with Black Lives Matter. And it inherently say Vietnamese Americans matter. We don't say that, but we have to support it. In supporting it, then we reveal ourselves.
the you asked the same question that Gracely Boggs asked us. It's the great Hegelian question of what time is it in the clock of the world today?
Yeah.
And yeah, what time is it?
It's time.
It's time.
Yeah, it's time. It's about the right time to do something.
That's right.
And we have to do something. That's how we merge our community together, because we are now looking at the same place. We're looking at a pool of water on the ground, and we can see the sky in it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've been like struggling to figure out what direction I should take my own personal work. Just the work that is very contextual to my it's very particular to my own context. Work that there's a lot of work that I want to do, while tending to the primary work that I have, which is to nurture these two really young babies that I still have in my company. And
That's an advantage.
that's an advantage.
Yes, you can see the
Share,
future
yeah,
in it.
yeah, share. I
Because if
mean,
you don't have children, you don't see what you do it for.
yes, it's true. I feel like I'm in this place where I'm supposed to be a connector, and that's my position and place and my role, is to connect, uh,
Of the mother,
huh?
of the mother.
Of the mother. And I just, yes, like this mothering role that I'm learning to live into, uh I feel a very great need. I feel like it is my imperative to be the connector between my children's generation and then the generation before me. That's work that I feel very strongly about. I also feel very strongly about this 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 need for me to protect our language and whatever cultural knowledge that I hold, and then some more, right? I feel like I'm in this place where, I mean, I'm 39, near 40, right? And I still, at this point in time, I feel like there is a fertile field of discovery, right? About who I am and who my people are and where our well ancestors are, right? The people who, the ancestors and the elders and the peers and the younger generation of folks who are trying to um, push forward and light that eighth fire along with me, you know. um and I think a lot about uh right now how 25%, I believe it's 25% of the like indigenous people make 25% of the world's population, but they make up 80% of our cultural and language diversity, right, in the world. And how I've learned that it's actually a very culture and language are such vital parts of actually sustaining life on this planet. Because our culture, the way we see and the way we do and the way we be and the way we relate to each other, that has a direct impact on, I guess, on the earth, right, and on all of our living relations. And I think a lot about language, and teaching the small act and the very invisible act of being able to share this language, be able to learn and then also share my knowledge of our language to my kids. It is so difficult, Anyan.
In Vietnamese, you call it tiếng mẹ đẻ, tiếng mẹ đẻ. That's as
Tiếng
if
mẹ đẻ.
our
Yeah.
language is a language that the mother created for you.
Yeah.
And when a kid love their country, patriotism is not it's a bad word. It's a patriotism is a better word. Um, Came from the mother. It's not come from the mother instilled the love of the land to the children, not the school. The school cannot do that. The school tell you to love something else. In any school in the world, it's a mother that taught the children how to love their people.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you are a young girl, you have a kid, and then you will become a beloved mother. When the children look at you and they can see love, they can see where they can lean on in tough part of life. So in a sense, if you look at the different generation of Vietnamese, there is a thread that go through it. It's through the mother. So so it was so why is the Vietnamese was under the dominance of the Chinese for 1,000 years, and it broke out and won independence?
Mm-hmm.
One the best explanation was Hai Ba Trưng, was a women. It's matriarchal. It was matriarchal. And without the matriarchy, then the Vietnamese would not start to revolt. And
Mm-hmm.
then Bà Triệu also revolted.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the Vietnamese have that tradition and won independence from China. And it was uh, so. So if you look at the education, you look at culture of Vietnam, then mostly the image of women of the mother is very important in it. Is very high in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we trust that this process we do, then we have to be uh, conscious of it, and so we have to gather all the people opinion, and each person will find will see how we fit into the community that we are building. That everybody will contribute something to the community, because we have been lagged behind by the politics of the first generation.
Mm-hmm.
We have to escape it. This is the time to do it. What time is it?
Is that time? Yeah, Nhan.
It will give us a lot of thought for the next session,
So many sessions.
and hopefully that we can come up with something for the next session from people who respond and give us questions. There's a lot of questions we have to answer about how we proceed with with a grassroots organization of Vietnamese American in a grassroots democracy with a flavor of personal and community healing. It has to be that. Without healing, we can't escape, that our problem.
it's true. It's true. Um,
The healing has to be intergenerational.
yeah, it does.
You
That's really clear.
you make the first generation proud.
Yeah, I am on that path. It is a very difficult path. It's a very slow, and it's a very it sometimes feels like it oftentimes feels like a protracted path. I mean, I just hung up on a family member like a couple days ago after we got into it about who our next president is gonna be.
Yeah, of course. Don't worry about that because when we discuss, uh, that is not gathering forces. That was dispersing forces.
Mm-hmm.
You have to discuss in such a way that we gather forces,
Yep.
and we have to convince the other one instead of fighting.
Yeah, so I think in the going back to the seven fire teachings, the at it in the work that the new people do, we go back to the trails, right? That we've walked before to find what has been left behind. And that's those are so what are the things or what are elements of our Viet peoplehood that have been left behind in the trails that we need to pay attention to, that we need to take notice, because those are tools that will help us actually get to that eighth fire. What are those things?
What we call nội lực is inner strength, because we are drawing a new path in a new land, in a new situation. So we'll do that. Everything is new with nội lực that came from ourselves, within ourselves, that has 4,000 years of history.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just now. So we have it driven from within is the best. We are doing something new.
And I think about I know it's very clear to me that returning and finding pieces of our indigeneity is just really important as we go back to the trails and retrace our steps. When I think about 1,000 years of colonization by the Chinese, and then 100 years of colonization by the French, and then this massive this massive multi-decade imperial project that was imposed upon us. It feel these traces of our indigeneity seem so hard to access. That's what it feels like oftentimes, and it feels like I'm shooting in the dark. It feels like I am fumbling. It feels it that and that it I feel compelled to actually seek out other relations in the ocean, right? To actually find the pieces of my motherland and my birthplace and my own indigeneity. And I'd love to hear from you how you feel like, or how you've been able to like access those parts of yourself.
We're not broken and shattered everywhere. Don't worry about that. We have all in ourselves. When we go on to Black Lives Matter, we already won the discussion. So we have to be confident that we are on the right path, and with the inner force within ourselves, trust ourselves, and confident, we will make a new one, a new confederation of Vietnamese, and the word solidarity is better in the sense. So we'll build a new one, and don't worry about that. We'll win on this one. We already won. So trust ourselves. It comes from inside of us. It comes from your mother. So you don't have to look anywhere.
Thank you, Anyan.
Thank you.
Do you have are there any last words, or do you have any questions for me?
No, that's the last word, and that's a challenge I give to you as a mother. So that when the children grow up, when they are in trouble, they look at the mother and they say, "What the mother would do, and what my mother want me to do," and so they draw the new path by themselves. And you look at it and you say, as a mother, you look at it and you say, "That's all right."
Challenge accepted, Anyan.
Yeah. give them blessing. Yeah.
I will.
All right.
I love you.
I love you.
All right. I'll
That's
talk to you
amazing.
soon. Have a good 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.